Hey, it's Miss Kelly Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. We have another episode of the Rental Revenue Builders show, and we have our collaborators here. And today's topic is all about building a team in your real estate business and how important that is. So we are just going to jump right in and get started with a few questions. The first question we are going to talk about is, can you share some insights on how you initially identified the need to build a team within your real estate business? So what made you realize, okay, it's time for me to have a team?
I can jump in here. When I initially first started, and getting into real estate, just like many of you out there, you may only have one property, and that's where I was at. I only have one single unit, and I knew I needed to scale, right? I knew I needed to grow my portfolio, but I knew from an out-of-state perspective, building a team was not only key, but it was mandatory, right? So in my experience, a couple of the steps that I took to really kind of put the team together was, first, just reaching out to family and friends who actually own properties not too far from mine, and kind of getting their perspective on, hey, who manages your properties and what type of team do you have in place to really be successful, right? So a lot of times when you're kind of going through the referral process of different referrals, it's not as easy, right? You're still kind of vetting through those individuals because one experience may not be yours, right? So I think just really kind of obviously vetting through those referrals and also just not settling, right? A lot of times you kind of get property managers, or you might have a cleaning staff that they get a lot, or maybe they get too comfortable within that specific role. So I kind of vetted through about 4 to 5 different teams. And once I got to the current team that I'm currently pretty much hiring to manage all of my properties, I literally, as soon as they started managing my properties for the first week, I knew that I was going to build with these guys. And the key indication there was it was really more of a proactive approach that they took when they were actually managing my units and turning over the short-term rentals and also vetting tenants and kind of doing the move in and move out process. They were actually reaching out to me and saying, hey, we noticed that this needs to be replaced, or this unit needs to be painted, or some appliances need to be repaired as well. So as soon as I actually got involved with these people, I knew that they were serious because they were proactive in bringing me things that needed to be addressed versus one of my tenants calling me saying, hey, the dishwasher doesn't work, or hey, the tub needs to be addressed, or the tub needs to be stained or sealed, or the door doesn't work, right? So once I got towards finding the current property management company that I'm with right now, I knew that they were the team to go with because they were proactive. They reached out to me with things to address, and I didn't feel like I was all alone from an out-of-state perspective managing an asset that I was 2,000 miles away from, right? I had boots on the ground, and they were all in and ready to go. So I think when building a team, I think obviously there's a huge ramp up process when you're vetting a lot of different teams, you're vetting a lot of different companies. But once you find that one company that treats your property as such as if it was theirs, right? They're reaching out to you to address concerns that, hey, may be a hindrance in the future. I think that's the company to go with. And that's how I ultimately made my decision.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to that because with the long-term rentals, I mean, I've had a property manager for a while, but I probably changed at least about 4 months ago now. But before, I had been with a property manager for years, right? And I trusted him. He was taking care of things and it was fine. But then all of a sudden he sold his business and automatically transferred to everything to a new property management company that I had no clue. Like, I didn't have any information about them. I didn't know anything. So I let them manage just to see how things were going. I let them manage it for maybe a couple months, but then I was like, whoa, my money isn't right. Like, it was
right,
repairs after repair after repair. Nobody was coming to me getting permission. My monthly payments was like hundreds of dollars when they should have been thousands of dollars. And I'm like, no. Like, money is being transferred from one property to another. It was like totally crazy. So I had to hurry up and get rid of them. And now I'm with a new management company. Now they charge a little bit more, but it's worth it because, like you said, Dominique, I don't have to worry about anything. They are on top of it. The communication is good. The money is coming through right, like it's supposed to be. And it's like a totally different situation. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm glad I made that decision, but definitely having the right property management company on your team is a benefit. Like you
Yeah.
definitely have to vet them, like you said. I totally agree. What about you
Yeah.
guys?
Miss Kelly, do you have that just on long term, or do you have it also with midterm rentals? 'Cause I'm trying
No,
to find it.
that's just on long-term rentals. Now, when I get back to the States, I am going to reach out to my property management company and see about them managing the midterm rentals just on the physical part. Like I can handle all of the stuff
The
online and the
sales.
phone calls and stuff, but actually making sure that like the properties look okay, if there's any emergencies, like those little things is what I want them to kind of handle, because like I said, I'll be traveling a little bit more. So I need to make sure I have someone else in place besides my mom, because she's just kind of helping out. I actually need a professional company in place to handle those things.
Same here. That's the reason why I was asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, my experience, I've obviously had some businesses prior to getting into real estate, but I'll take it back to just being in business, period. I think when we first started, we're entrepreneurs. We want to do everything, and we want to save money and time because we are doing everything. And when you realize that you can't get to everything, and you want to be an expert at everything, be your accounting, be your marketing, be your operating. Like, you don't know, do I get a business card first, or do I do a logo first? Wait, do I get a website first? So there's a lot of things that you're thinking about, and it really depends on the trade. But what I wish I would have known, and what I could tell my old self, is you can have external teams before building your internal teams. The main thing, as you said earlier about getting your money right, I wish I would have outsourced accounting faster and sooner. Okay. And for that, we always say, and I'm a very A-type personality. I love Excel spreadsheets. I love watching my money, but you just don't get the time because you're in the business and growing the business. And then I'll get to QuickBooks. I'll get to this. I'll get to that. And then when you get to it, it's when you're 2 years later and you're having to do the taxes from 2 years ago. And then you don't really know if you're profit or not. There are now so many different ways to partner with companies that can work with you that would be at a very lower cost. I'm not telling anyone when they're first starting out to go get a CPA and go get the largest firm, but there are companies out there. If you visit some of my pages, we have them where they're very, very reasonable. But most of the time we say, well, wait on accounting. But be resourceful. I would say that's the first thing, and having the external team. And then also there's a lot of people that you can hire on a short-term basis to be able to delegate, to build that website out. And one thing I could just say is your first website, your first business card, your first logo is not always going to be what you stay with, because you're going to be evolving. And as you're evolving, maybe you're not going to like those colors anymore. And then you get a marketing guru and they said, okay, those colors weren't. So don't get hung up so much on the logos and all of that. I think get something out there, pay a reasonable price. You can find people on Fiverr, Upwork, know what that budget looks like, but really focus on building your brand, which would be you personally in any type of business that you're doing. So that's my advice on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now let's take a step back and let's just talk about like who do we have on our team? You know what I mean? Like, let's just break it down. So like for me, with my long-term rentals, the only people on my team is the property management company. And that's pretty much it, right? Because they're just managing it. I'm not doing anything else, right? But with like the midterm rentals, I have my virtual assistants. I have property managers that actually manage some of the properties that I have, that I rental arbitrage. I have owners that I work with because they're managing their own properties. So there's like a lot of moving parts. I have a bookkeeper because, like you said, doing the books every month is like, oh my gosh, I got to sit down and do this now. Like, I want to know my numbers, but I don't want to sit down and look at my numbers and track and look at everything. And so yes, having a bookkeeper is definitely a plus. And then also if you are, and then again, this is that's overall as far as the bookkeeper is concerned. But when it comes to like different aspects of real estate, if you are like purchasing something, for example, if I want to purchase another long-term rental, then I'm usually going to Marlon because he's a wholesaler. So that's another person that would be on the team to find me those properties. So what about you guys? Who else is actually on your, oh wait, let me stop. I forgot to mention some people on my team. I just thought about it. I have a marketing manager too. And I do have another VA who like just markets my social media stuff. So that those are more people on my team that just totally blew my mind. But these are all contractors, either, well, the two VAs are like with Fiverr or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But I still have a lot on me, and I still want to remove more. But it's a step-by-step process. As you grow, like Michelle said, as you grow, then your team grows. So who is on your team?
I know, Alejandro, we haven't heard from you.
For me, it's even, I guess, interesting because doing lending as well, it's, for example, it's agents sometimes that can give you information, BPO, a broker price opinion, or sometimes access to MLS if I need some comps, right? So it's having someone that I can call and say, hey, can you give me a comp on this? Obviously, I'm getting the comp from the person borrowing, but a real estate agent that has access to the MLS and knows specifics about a certain neighborhood, those are huge. I'm going to say somebody on your team is going to be title company people. I know we don't think about them like that,
100%.
but when you have a title company person that you know that right, they can make stuff happen. And that's one of the pieces that I didn't know was such a huge component, because when you're doing transactions, if you get to use one title company over, you get a couple, that person becomes part of your team because they start liking you and they want to make the deal happen for you too, right? That's one thing that at first you're scared to ask questions and you think you're bothering them. But now it's like, Tammy, so if I do this and they're like, oh yeah, no, you can do it. Because what I learned is they thrive in wanting to solve quirky stuff. The stuff for us that we hate, they love. That's why they work at a title company, because title company work is very detail oriented. Stuff that most of us probably would hate, right, as entrepreneurs. But they love that stuff, and they help you. So they've been huge in that space. And I would add, for somebody right now that's going to buy that property, buy a duplex or something like that, get in, I think you really need to find someone, on a handyman, someone that's a generalist that can do a lot of things for you. If you're going to self-manage in the beginning, which I don't think is a bad idea. If you're starting out, you get your first one, just make sure you have someone who is a well-rounded technician that can handle all that stuff. Because most of the time, it's hard to find someone that's reliable, that's a generalist, that can do everything. So I have a couple of people in that they're timely. Before I had to go through someone that was good, but you don't know when you might get them. So you call and they might not get to the tenant for another 2 weeks, and the tenant is not going to be happy about that. So if you get someone that you could trust, and sometimes you can pay them a little bit more. So I would say definitely my handyman, definitely my few real estate agents I have, and then title company people are really big for me as well.
Yeah. And then also, as you continue to keep closing with title companies and building those relationships, you can sometimes get some discounts on some closing fees and things that they'll be like, hey, since you use us all the time, you get this. So that's definitely a good point that you brought up, Alejandro.
And the last thing I would add is like Michelle was saying about the accountant. I don't say you have to go to a big firm, but you do need a good one. So don't let a fair price steer you away. It's better to pay for someone who knows what they're doing than get Johnny and them to like, so now I can hook you up, right? And it's like a problem. Then you get audited and whatnot. So there are a lot of people that are independents that are good, that are not going to charge you like a big old firm, but they're not going to be cheap either, right? They're not going to be at the bottom, but it's definitely worth it. Just vet them out, see what they've done, but they'll save you a lot of money in the long run.
And I would highly recommend, if you're buying real estate, you definitely want to have someone on your side, because you don't want to have someone that does not know real estate accounting. And all of us
Yeah.
on here know cost segregation, knowing depreciation, knowing what you can and cannot. If you're actually staging these properties, are these properties considered construction for the staging, or is it considered not? Where my current bookkeeper that we have, we outsource it, and I will tell you, we're paying only $300 to manage our 19 properties as far as just for that, so it doesn't have to be expensive. Now my bookkeeper, they do real estate, they do property, they understand as far as those particular things and what to put where. From there, then I have someone that does taxes, and they'll tell you, having someone that's on your side to tell you how to do your legal structure. A lot of people getting in this real estate game, you guys, if you're buying properties all under your name or your own LLC, that's a big no-no if you're having it under one LLC. So you really want to speak to someone, because what if something happens and you picked up 3 properties and someone wants to sue you on one? All your assets are not protected. So you want to really start to get into understanding that and knowing. When you get into multifamily, Dom can tell you just the costs, everything in that space, especially in the real estate. I would say that was the biggest ones that we had or have right now. I'm writing down, Kellie, as you're asking how many people I have on my team. I actually have a bigger team than I thought because external and internal, right? So I did have internally last year 7, and I had to get everybody. Had to get rid of everybody. That's something that you, as you're growing in your business, you're going to realize sometimes they will not continue to follow your core values, your mission, and everything. One of the things I do want to recommend to the viewers, one of the books that I read, and you can be a 1-man show and you could be a 50-man show, is Traction by Gino Wick. Traction really puts in perspective that. Another book I just picked up, which I wish I would have read 13 years ago when I was an entrepreneur, is Profit First. So as we get into this business, we always say we're going to pay ourselves, and we never do. But to answer your question, I think I have a team of probably about 20 people. A lot of them are contractors. A lot of them are joint ventures. They're not internally. But yeah, so we have basically, when you're running a midterm rental business, you're running 3 different things usually. You're going to run the acquisition if you're purchasing your properties. That's one business in itself. I reach out and outsource to all wholesalers. I'm not going to start an acquisition team. And then in your construction, you got your whole slew of people that are there, project managers, your GCs. And then if you're doing your property management side, then you have a whole group of those individuals as well. So that's always 3 companies kind of within one. And we never think of it that way, but it is. Yeah. So there's quite a few people. I have a few VAs on my team. I didn't know what VAs existed up to about 2 years ago, which has been crazy. I always said it had to be someone that was in an office and so forth, but yeah, it's a big team. I didn't realize it is. And one thing, I guess the point of what we're saying is, you can't do it all by yourself.
Right.
There's just
and you
no way.
mentioned a few people that I was like, oh yeah, I do have them on my team. I forgot about them.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is, hey, when you take any new journey, you're going to bring like the old side of you with it. You gotta let go, right? Specifically with VAs, I kind of was just super late to the game, right? And once I literally implemented them into my business, into like the weekly or the monthly emails or the touch points that I need, or the contracts, the invoices, like, that was a game changer, right? It allowed me to have a little bit more time to spend more time on the strategic part of the business versus something else, right? So when we talk about a team, I think everybody, you guys all brought up similar touch points and similar people that I actually have on my team. I'll break it down into like an execution side and a strategy side. Obviously, on the executional side, you have your property managers, your cleaning staff, repairs and maintenance and things like that. But the one thing I do want to point out on the strategy side, which is we talked about bookkeeping and tax planning. I think that's great, but also having great attorneys on your team. Once you start stepping into obviously 20, 30, 100 units, you're going to have a lot of tenants that not necessarily are problem tenants, but you just may find yourself in some things or some situations where you need a legal advice, general counsel. So having a great attorney on your team can lead you in the right direction to success. And then also, just like Michelle, she pointed out tax planning in regards to cost segregation, like having those right people on your team to really like give you the wins that you deserve as a real estate owner, right? You really need to have everybody on your team that's locked and loaded, ready to go. Because like I said, if you are already ready, there's no need to get ready, right? If you're already ready, you already got the right people on your team, you're already ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah, good points. Good points. All right. So as far as your team is concerned, was there like anybody on your team that you was like, okay, I have to prioritize this because like I just can't handle this anymore? Like, is there anybody you feel like was just the number one person you had to put on that team when you first thought about building your team?
I would say sales. I think a lot of the times we forget the sales side of it, and that has to keep going no matter if you're in a project or not. Another thing is having an administrator, right? So having someone as an assistant. There's those things that we're not good at everything and we don't like to do everything, but as a business owner, you have to do everything. Really getting straight and true with yourself and writing it down, and knowing what we were talking about it right before the call, revenue generating activities, RGAs is what we need to focus on, and also building your brand and your business. But I would say that a lot of times there'll be times I'm working on one project. I got the acquisition, I have the house, I'm dealing with the title, I'm dealing with construction, but I don't got the next thing lined up. And the only way you're going to have the next thing lined up if you have an assistant or sales, someone that's constantly still looking at deals and being able to do that. Doesn't mean you have to buy them, but you want them to know so when you are ready, you can. Or if you're in the midterm rental space, same thing. Right now, we're switching a lot of transition in short-term rentals. Airbnb is declining. It is declining a lot. And I have Airbnbs as well. But we didn't have the sales team because we got laxed to keep making those phone calls to corporate, to insurance companies, because I'm too busy working on other things. So we just recently hired someone that can just really focus on it. And they don't have to take it home for you. You could still be the closer. I also got real with myself and really just said, what don't I like? And it's okay. You don't have to like everything. I don't like marketing. I know how to do marketing. I know it. So I have someone now. I have someone that if you follow me now, you're starting to see reels and videos. I don't do that. I have someone that does that. I have someone that tells me, okay, what colors to use and not colors to use and all of that, and what can grab attention to audience. And I'm okay with that. So just really knowing and writing down, knowing what it is. And one of the things that you can also get real with yourself is literally looking at, calculate your day in one day. You'll realize how much time you're spending on proactive things. And when it comes to those things that you don't like and that you keep pushing off, those are probably the things you want to outsource.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, and basically, like you said, you want to outsource anything you don't like to do. Those should be maybe some of the first things. If you're not good at it or you don't like to do it, those are the first people you need to hire.
You know, one thing that I'll add on here that's, I wouldn't say necessarily a pushback, but depending on where you are and what you're going after, I do think that it's good to know a little bit about that thing. For example, when I first got bought like 2 4-family units, just managing that, I had to learn a lot about costs and services. So some people, that's how they're going to start, and then they'll be going into big business, but they'll have some understanding of it. Some may stay in that space, and what that does, though, it gives you an opportunity to be able to negotiate better and pick vendors in a better way. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, there's some sharks out there, and you're going to get bitten, right? There's some people that'll tell you, oh yeah, no, you're going to need this. Kind of like when you go and take the car to the shop, like, oh man, if it was me, I don't know why you're driving this car out here. And then next thing you know, thousands of dollars later, you realize that's not the case. So knowing a little bit, but just enough, right? like you said, I don't know how to change. I can change a light bulb, but that's about as far as it gets. And but I know. I always say I know what stuff costs. So and I know how long it takes. So if you tell me you're going to do this kitchen for this amount of money, I know whether you're on point or whether you're lying to me.
Right.
And then I know what questions to ask. If you know some of the lingo, that's the other thing too. If you don't know a lot, if you know some of the lingo and you can talk like that, they'll respect that and they'll realize, okay, I'm not talking to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. So I think it's just a good balance of knowing just enough to have good conversations and to make good deals with your vendors and with your team. Because at the end of the day, you want to keep growing with you want to keep growing with the team. It shouldn't be a one-off situation. You want to be able to work with them so that it repeats.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is don't go with your first person. So the only way you're going to do it is line it up. We all have Google. We can look it up. And if you're looking for a plumber, it's going to be a little bit of a pain for you to first do it, but you got to do it. I think I take sometimes it for granted in the fact that I have had to go to 3 or 4 other individuals, right now I'm on my 10th electrician on one project. It's crazy. And it's because they just show up, spend their time, and don't give me the estimate or invoice. But like you said, Alejandro, I've learned I'm in a new territory. I'm in a new city and it's crazy because I'm a former contractor. I should know some of but I don't know all about electricity. Now I do, but I would say the practices, get 4 or 5 people and just talk to them. Like you said, go out there and look, because now I'm seeing how crazy the prices is. And what I was mentioning earlier, being a female, sometimes in this industry, some people do take advantage. Yeah. And I'm not saying anything about you, Dom or Alejandro, but I'm just going to let you know, I do have some guy. And so sometimes now on my team, I'll have a male figure there so that they understand, because I have had outrageous prices, and it's like, or my business partner and some of my portfolio is my mom. So I'll give a perfect example. We had a midterm rental, and the AC right now, because it's so hot in San Antonio, we're having AC issues. Our AC went out. He goes, it'll be $75, or I'm sorry, $150 for the service call. And I think it's going to be about $700 to $900 what we're going to charge you. You haven't even gone out to the property.
Right.
So we went, we did the rule of 3. And I'm always saying this because we forget when we get in our business that we will always stick with the same people. And coming from a contractor, trust me, I've had my teams in place, and there are times I will still get bids from others because they get relaxed with you and they say, oh, I got the job. I've been working with Michelle. I've been working with Alejandro. I've been working with, I'm the GC. I'm the man. I'm the crew. I'm the one, or female. I'm the crew. And sometimes you have to realize price adjustments at all times, because at the end of the day, guys, it's money out of your pocket. It's money out of your family. It's money off of your table. We ended up getting that thing fixed for $175.
Wow.
500, man. He's already counting. He was already counting. I'm going to have a great weekend this week.
Right.
I think it was because my mom, he's probably saw an older lady, probably thinks so she has all these properties, which she does, but still, like, what fair is fair. Yeah. But I deal with that a lot.
and you know what? I would say I know women is an easy target, but as soon as they sniff, there's been my experience. As soon as they sniff that you're green, they will exploit it. So I don't care who you are.
Oh yeah, 100% right. I think if you can get, and it's a revolving door, right? It's a revolving door with contractors, with wholesalers. I mean, there was a wholesaler I was using last year, and 97% of my business went to, like, he got from me, like I was closing with him. He's now changed, evolved, moved to something else. I'm not purchasing properties right this second. I'm getting more in multifamily. But again, you just have to continue. Just don't get comfortable. Don't get me wrong. I've had some good crews and people that in my past life when I was a contractor that worked with me, and they were loyal and trustworthy, but everybody evolves in their business. And you just want to make sure that you're treating this as a business. And I'm fault for it, that I try to be friends with individuals. And at the end of the day, that's where sometimes we lose, right? We lose versus the actual service provider.
Right.
All
Yeah.
right. Looks like Don, you had an experience with that.
Oh man,
Right.
I think it's very important that in real estate, you got to kind of just draw that boundary and draw that line and really kind of decipher between obviously friends and business, right? Business is business and friendship is friendship. And I think it all comes with communication and establishing expectations up front. And sometimes it's those tough conversations that need to happen. So obviously friendships are mended but at the end of the day, you really got to separate business from friendship
And family.
and
Oh
family.
yeah, definitely.
I have I'm one of those, and it's one of the things. My mom is 9 to 5. I'm sorry, my mom. It's my business partner 9 to 5. My mom after, and it's been a little bit of an adjusting for us, and especially as we're continuing to grow. But it's hard because some staff is like, "What you would speak to her, or what kind of relationship is this?" And it's like it's business. I mean, we all have the intention to, so it's hard too when there's disagreements and stuff. So friends, family. It's a very sticky topic.
So Michelle mentioned just getting those 3 bids from contractors. So that's a part of finding the right individuals to be on your team. So interviewing multiple people, getting multiple bids. Is there anything else you guys would add as far as how you go about finding the right people to be on your team?
You know what? I mean, the biggest one I would say is referrals from other people like what we have here. I mean, some of the best people that on the team are that when someone else was using them and saying, hey, you need an account, so it's asking people, hey, who are you using for this? Who are you using for that? And then see if they fit your business model, see if they can, so you got to have that conversation. But when you get a warm referral, they've already been vetted by that person. And hopefully it's somebody you trust, somebody you have a relationship with. But those for me have been some of the biggest ones because some of the work was already done. They already came highly recommended.
Right, right.
And I think I would also add is once you get your hands on, hey, good property management or, hey, good contractors, or you really got a solid relationship with these guys and they've proven themselves to be tried and true, right? Like, don't take that for granted, right? On birthdays, you need to be reaching out. Hey, happy birthday. Here's a gift. On Christmas, on holidays, same thing. You need to be reaching out and nurturing that relationship because as much as this is business, these people are the reasons why you're successful, right? They are running your show. So on those specific days where, hey, it might be Mother's Day, Father's Day, it might be the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, you need to be reaching out to those folks and still making yourself personal and keeping that rapport there as well.
Yeah, great.
And I think the other thing is really just understanding the people you're hiring, right? So I'm a big A-type stickler, CEO, entrepreneur, but I found myself a lot of the time saying, oh man, finding myself, are they going to show up to work? And being the fact of me begging someone to be part of what I'm building. I know my value. I know my worth. I know what I can bring to the table. And I want people on my team to be able to know we can grow together. And it's a reciprocated thing. When you start feeling that in your gut or like, man, I don't want to work with that admin anymore or that mark, then move on, cut it, because you continue to keep that. Or if you have someone on your team and you see the morale from your other peers or internal team and they're just toxic, cut it. That's the great thing about being an entrepreneur and being able to do that. I think some of the times I didn't cut the cancer fast enough and it spread within the team and it affects the team and the morale and yourself. I mean, right. One of the things I know, I keep going back to books. I'm actually on 75 hard right now. So you read books every day. There's a recent book I read, and I'm not an MLMer, but it talked about the personality. So a lot of times as owners or as entrepreneurs, we don't know how to communicate because we only know our language and we only understand our language. So one of the things recently I've been hiring individuals, and it's MLMpersonalitytest.com. It's free and they've actually taken it, and you'd be surprised. You can say the exact same thing, but if they're a different shade or color, it will be interpreted or said in a different light. I think that is a very valuable tool no matter what. If you're hiring, communicating with, bringing on private money lenders, investors, that book opened up so many, like, just, oh, this is why my staff didn't get it. I know what I was saying, but they didn't know what I was saying. So communication and having that is a big thing. And that is something now that I'm using as far as on implementation and hiring. And it's just simply just to see where they stand, but knowing also that, knowing that for those core values, you got to know what you're standing for. And if someone doesn't, you don't want to put just a body into your business because they can destroy it and then you have to rebuild it. So
what's the book again? That last book you mentioned, 75.
Give me 1 second. I know I have it. I'll get it for you guys, but it's an MLM book.
Okay.
It is literally less than an hour and a half to read.
Okay.
So it is not a big book, but on the website, it's called MLMpersonalitytest.com.
Okay.
And and the book, I'll get it to you by the end. I'll make sure that I can tell you guys, but it would take you 2 hours to read. So if you're not a reader, it's on audiobook and there's free versions if you guys want to check that out.
Cool. Thank you so much. Those are some great books. And I'm definitely going to be picking some of them up. All right. So now we all have to scale in our business. We start off as solopreneurs. Most of the time, that's how everyone starts off, and you have to start scaling, right? So as your real estate business expands, scaling is going to be crucial. So how have you managed to scale your team effectively to make sure everyone's on the same level of quality and efficiency? That's a good one. Everybody's silent on that one. Maybe have we not gotten to that point yet? I mean, and it's okay if we haven't.
That's a good one.
I know my team members don't necessarily interact with each other. They're all interacting with me. And then I kind of continue to delegate stuff out. So my situation is a little bit different. Anybody else? Or are you guys me?
For me on the scalability, like to make sure like it's constant. If you go back to the book of the traction, I'll teach you how you start to build out the team. So it starts with 2 individuals and how you can. Everybody wants a challenge no matter what. If they are the customer support person, if you start to see them stagnant. So just as you're growing and as you see, just trying to figure out if that individual wants to grow and be able to grow with the team. I know I'm constantly meeting, regardless if it's VAs or not. And if we're getting to that next level of growing, sometimes some people just don't want to stay around. And you have to be okay with that and knowing that they've met their plateau, but you have to know and always understand, and your business is going to constantly be moving. If your business isn't moving forward, you're not growing and you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to be profitable in the sense of what you're trying to go to. And that is, it's okay for you to change that business model, right? I've recently done it throughout the real estate career. It was, okay, I started as a buy and hold. We were in midterm rentals. We had to get into short term. Then from short term rentals, then I've realized we also have to continue to grow as far as capital raisers. That was a position in my company. Now from capital raisers, we're going into multifamily. And when I bring someone on board, I'm like, look, we're an ever growing company. So if you don't like change, it's probably not going to work for you here. And it's because we're going to continue. I still haven't found or plateaued into what that looks like. And I want to keep scaling because we're just adding on and adding on. So sometimes some people are like, no, this is way too much for me, or I'm not. Same thing, Kelly. A lot of my VAs don't interact right now, but they'll eventually somehow, and we're starting to segregate, okay, property management's property management. And you have different, like the way Dom has it too. And they can just continue to grow within there. But it's very important for your team to know they should be happy. They should know, wow, I can have an opportunity to be now a manager. I've been with them for a while. I know the ins and outs of where they're at. Another thing is I like to have people that I bring on board to give me other ideas, other perspectives. So not always hiring from what we're supposed to do, but where we're wanting to be. right?
Yeah.
Those are more
Yeah.
your C-level and up positions, not necessarily more of the administrative, but just giving you another perspective because we don't know everything, and bringing those, that's another way you can scale your business. Bringing in somebody or bringing someone consultant wise. When you guys were talking, it made me think about it. Bringing just someone as an independent contractor to come in and say, okay, your midterm rental could use this, because this is what I've seen has been successful.
Right.
And it's just growing, right? And knowing where to cut costs and all of that. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. Is there any other advice you guys would give to people who are already in the real estate investing business or who are trying to get into it in regards to building a team? Go ahead.
I'd say don't be afraid. I know we probably talked a lot here about it. Don't be afraid to say, oh my gosh, now the cost expense of it or the growing, or now I have to go out there and just get 5 people for everything. It's all evolving. We've all been that one man show, and we've been where, and I just said it earlier. I have had it where we had 7 people on our team and we went back down to 2, and now we're organically growing it again. So don't be fear of what that looks like. Understand that you don't want to put yourself in a financial situation either. Just be very clear on what that looks like. And then also just look at your resources or tap into the communities. You'd be very surprised what VAs can cost, what actually even JPV partners, other entrepreneurs, that they may just work with you and they don't cost anything because they know that you're going to do business together.
Right.
So just don't be fearful of it. Just really just kind of don't get scared, because I know probably when I first started, I'm like, whoa, that's way too much. That just sounds like a lot of people, and I'm not a manager. I don't know what's going on. You'll evolve to it. You will evolve to it. You'll know when you need someone.
Yeah. And I know when, like early on in my business, I definitely did not feel comfortable bringing people on because I didn't want to feel responsible for their livelihood. Like that was a legit fear of mine. Like, I don't want to have to be responsible for a regular paycheck. I don't know what's happening in my business, yada, yada, yada. So if you feel that way as well, understand you can overcome that. And you do definitely have to grow into becoming the CEO of your business. It's not something that just automatically happens. Like, you will be the person doing everything, and then you have to just let things go and just trust other people to do those tasks that you need them to do, because that's how your business is ultimately going to grow. You're not going to grow by yourself. You have to have people on your team to help you get to the next level. I wish I would have learned that earlier, but hey, it is what it is. And I had to take my time, but I'm at the point now, I'm like, look, who's going to handle this? Okay, if I have the money, I'm going to pay you. If I can do it, I'm going to pay you to do it, because I like, that's not my expertise. I need to work on other things or deal with other things. So yes. All right. What about anybody else? What other advice would you give?
Yeah, I'm aligned with everybody on the call. Like, literally, if you're doing everything on your own, it's going to be tough, and it's going to be, you can still be successful, but it's going to take you a little bit more time. It's a lot of competition at the bottom when you're just doing everything yourself. And at the top, there's collaboration, right? When you are collaborating with multiple different folks doing joint ventures and partnerships and things like that, I think that's the creative way to kind of really kickstart your position of where you're at in real estate to where you want to be in the next 5 years, right? The collaboration key is just something that I would recommend. And for those who are looking to just get in the game and get started, and you may only have 1 or 2 properties, hey, you may not even have any. Don't be afraid to just collaborate and get the deal done.
Yeah. I'll add 2 things. You know, I came from the music industry in the 90s, the golden era. And when you think about Jay-Z's career, I remember when he started 95, he's been a serial collaborator. If you look at his career, it's just him collaborating with whoever, and he would say, whoever that hot artist is, I'm going to make a song with him. He was making songs with DMX when DMX was real hot, right? Why? Because now I get your audience, right? He gets my audience. So then together we're winning. And he says, I'm a serial collaborator. Whoever's hot right now, that's who I'm going to work with, because it'll expand my influence. It'll expand my touch, my fingerprint. So I think that's one of the things that's critical, that often, and so this is the second point I want to make. I think often is a mindset issue. It came from a poverty mentality, still trying to shake it, right? Coming from not having any money and just seeing my mom as an immigrant struggle, not knowing how money works. So then it's all about just working hard and saving. Mm-hmm. So as a result, I mean, when you first come in, like, how much they charge? I mean, that's the first question. That's the first question. Like when you talk to an attorney or an accountant, you're like, how much? Like $400. And you think like, oh my goodness. And I believe you gotta shift your mind. And if you come from the poverty mentality, if you didn't have that much growing up, it is a process, because you think that I could use this money, but it doesn't. Like everything that we've said in this call is that you're paying for the expertise. It's going to take you much more time. You're going to be stressed out of your mind if you try to do taxes or all this stuff by yourself, because if you don't have that skill set, it's just not going to be a good fit. But I think you have to work on your mentality to say, what value are they bringing me? And was the phrase, poor people know the cost of everything, but the value of nothing, right? They don't understand the value, but they know the cost, right? And go to the store next time and see somebody when they're buying a cigarette, how much those cost? They know the cost, right? But they don't understand the value of something. And that's something that I'm continuing to learn is, well, what is the value of it? And is that price worth that value? Because it very well may be worth it.
Yes. And great point, because the collaboration, and that's why I brought all of us together, because I feel like if I'm trying to come up, I want other people to come up too. Like, I have no problem. We can all eat. Let's all feed off of each other and let's all grow. So yes, a great point. I love that you made that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we wrap it up? No?
I did want to give the name just in case your viewers want to know. It's the 4-color personalities for MLM.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
And like I said, it is a short book for you readers that don't, but it just, even if you're not, I mean, you're just getting into the real estate, if you're working corporate America, there's a lot of books out there, and if you're in corporate America, you've had to take these personality tests. This gets short, simple, to the point, and it helps you understand. And like I said, it's a 2-hour. I think it's maybe an hour on Audible, and there's some free versions out there. If not, it's less than $10. So.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you for that, Michelle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, make sure you continue to watch our shows, and we are going to have an after show now, and that's going to be located in the Rental Revenue Builders membership. So if you want to see the after show, make sure you join that membership. All right. So continue to like and subscribe, and we will be back with you in another month or so with another show from the Rental Revenue Builders collaborators. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.